Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Count down to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
Hey, good morning, folks. Welcome to today's edition of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I'm ready to go. I'm really excited today about, I don't know why I'm so excited. I guess it's just because it's a little drizzly outside, a little rainy outside, a little chilly, for Pensacola, Florida. But all in all, it's a great day to be indoors and to be in this warm, beautiful studio and expecting and excited about your calls. In fact, Hannah will take your call at 888-227-2546. I have a short story that I'll tell you when I come back, and then we're going to take a call from Georgia and talk to Mr. Ed, and I see another couple of calls are coming in. 888-227-2546. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in this morning by O'Reilly Auto Parts. Their professional parts people can help you get the right part you need to get the job done right, and that's what's really important. That's why we partnered with O'Reilly Auto Parts. But did you know they also perform free battery tests and check your engine light and install your wiper blades and even loan you special tools? I mean, they know what it means to provide excellent service. The professional technicians, like my technicians in my shop, have trusted O'Reilly Auto Parts for more than 30 years. O'Reilly Auto Parts. Better parts, better prices, every day. Your calls at 888 Car Clinic. When I come back, don't touch that dial. Don't go away. A 2013 Honda Accord came in the shop running rough, stalling, and a check engine light. The vehicle had originally been repaired by another shop. After a thorough diagnosis, we found the vehicle was generating a bad signal from the crankshaft position sensor. This seemed odd as it had just recently been replaced, but the scope doesn't lie. A bad waveform signal needs to be fixed. Our solution? A new crankshaft position sensor from Motorrad. A longtime leader for vehicle thermostats and caps, Motorrad now offers engine management products that are engineered to meet and or exceed OEM specifications. They're designed to perform under severe operating conditions and are resistant to extreme heat. We made the change, and that fixed the car. Motorrad engine management products are manufactured in Tier 1 OEM facilities with top quality qualifications. They undergo comprehensive 100% in-line and end-of-line testing to ensure uncompromising quality. Learn more about Motorrad engine management products and other Motorrad solutions at Motorrad.com. In the Car Clinic service bay this week, a 2013 Ford Escape. The customer was having a hard time cranking the vehicle and had to jump-start the car several times in the weeks prior. They assumed it was a failing battery, but it turned out to be something else. After a close inspection, we found the alternator was supplying very low voltage to the system, which can never be fully charged. We charged the battery, tested it, and confirmed it was still good. We then replaced the alternator and performed a starting system test after verifying proper voltage from the alternator. The starter motor showed an abnormally high current draw, likely damaged from all the cranking of the vehicle with low voltage. Our solution? A new Motorcraft starter and alternator, so we could be sure to fix it right. Both parts were readily available at FordParts.com. Motorcraft Parts offer OE-approved specifications and performance for all your Ford and Lincoln repairs. Motorcraft, right part, priced right, and you can learn more about Motorcraft starters, alternators, and other high-quality vehicle-specific parts at Motorcraft.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Ricey Outfitters, I'm Tina. How can I help you?
I'd like to place an order.
Great. Which item?
The cotton roll neck sweater, large.
Okay. Periwinkle, Loden, or caramel?
The caramel, please.
The what?
I'd like it in caramel.
Oh, the caramel?
Yeah, that's what I said, Tina.
Actually, you said caramel when it's pronounced caramel.
Can't we just call it yellow?
No.
Everyone knows the best part of a Milky Way. They just don't know how to say it. After all, it's our caramel.
It's caramel.
Ugh, that makes a Milky Way great.
You start my morning, you stir in my soul, you warm my heart, make me feel whole. Your aroma calls me, it starts my morning. Happy morning, your name is Folgers Mountain Grow. Now you're here, your aroma helps me wake, and the day is mine to take. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with the first hour of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you we come to you every week from 10 till noon Eastern Time. There are two separate hours, and a lot of stations will carry both hours, and some stations carry only the first and or the second hour. Like, for instance, it's currently 11 minutes after 10 Eastern Time, and so on the West Coast, it's after 7, so it's kind of early. So what we did many years ago, gosh, I don't know how long it's been, 25 years ago, we decided rather than to air 1 hour, I would just work, if you call this work, 2 hours every Saturday. And it's worked out really well because it gives folks the opportunity, flexibility. And this is not a fix-it show. That's not what I'm here for. And it's not a comedy show like the other brothers were on the public television, which is WSRE. That's our local affiliate. Although they've both retired and we lost one of the brothers. But the bottom line is, what I do is I share with you information because I am a car person, a car doctor, you might say. I know a lot about cars because I've been in that industry all my life. In fact, for almost 49 years operating my own facility up until October the 23rd, where I actually sold my Bobby Likis Car Clinic Service pre-repair, although that's where we are still broadcasting from. And it's very much alive and well. And today the name of that company is Bobby Likis Auto Service. And still the same crew that we had before, just a new owner. So no, I'm not going to retire. I'm going to just slow down a bit. But this will give me more time to prepare. And so to that end, I've got a lot of information to share with you today. And some of that information is from the Consumer Electronics Show that was just completed last week. And so we have what's called B-roll. So I would invite you folks who are tuned in on radio or television station in South Florida, and in Boston we have a TV station. Then I would invite you to go to watchbobbylive.com, because we have some interesting information from Samsung that is really way cool, but it's the future, and we'll share that with you as time goes by. But first, we're going to take your calls, and let's go to Georgia to Mr. Ed. In the meantime, now, folks, is never a better time than now. 888-227-2546. Mr. Ed, good morning. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us.
Hi. Yeah, good morning, Bobby. Talked with you last week. I have a success story on my Honda Element that you advised me on last week. I wanted to praise you and O'Reilly. I put the Sylvania Silver Star Ultras bulbs in that, but prior to that, I didn't want to put those new bulbs in with the old lens cover that was dull looking. So, of all things, Sylvania has a kit, restoration kit, which is very complete. It has a surface clarifier that softens the old lens. It has 400, 1,000, and 2,000 grit sandpaper that you wet sand that with. Mm-hmm. And it has a polish that you put on after you get it sanded. And then it's got a finishing seal with the UV block clear coat application. And that worked perfect. And Sylvania, I found out Sylvania is the #1 automotive lighting manufacturer. I didn't know that, but that's great news, and I appreciate your advice on that. And I got a further thing with my element we didn't cover last week I wanted to mention, but also I heard an earlier show I didn't get to participate about your first car. So I want to tell you about my first car as I said, I grew up. My dad had an automobile lot with various used cars, and I was 6 years old when he opened that in 1949, and so I was around cars all my. Then when I turned 15, the summer when I turned 15 years old in 1955, he gave me a black 49 Ford Coupe with a V8 flathead V8 in it.
Wow.
It was a sharp car, which I drove to school every day, back and forth every school. But from the car lot, my privilege, every weekend, I drove something off the car lot, Bobby. And I was 15. I didn't even have a license then. But on through high school, I drove. My friends never knew what to look for me in because I would drive something different. Now that's a real privilege I had. I didn't realize the extent of it. But
you did, Ed. That would have to be a real privilege. My first car I was 13 years old, but I was only instructed to drive it around the block, and of course. My dad didn't say which block. Of course, we knew which block he was talking about. So I drove it around a block, and I decided if I could drive it around a block, I could drive it around another block, and so pretty soon, I won't go into that story, but it was a 1949 Plymouth, and it was gorgeous, and I wish I had that little coupe today. It was the kind that had the rippled bumpers that all the customizers, like the Barris, in California, and those guys, they all used those Plymouth bumpers because they were sort of a rolled effect, a little wavy look, and rather than just the flat type bumper. But the bottom line, it was a great time. I was a fair driver. I cleaned that car daily. It had old gray oxidized paint. And if I didn't wax it twice a week, it would, and even so, it would, by the weekend, it would turn back to, but it had, Ed, the dash was beautiful. And I remember that. It had a wood grain applique over this 49 Plymouth dash. And of course, that was like new. And I will tell you, I love that vehicle. And ultimately, I broke the transmission in it. But anyway, in the interest of time, let's talk about your Honda Element and your other questions. And thanks for calling back, and thanks for sharing information. I got 3 emails this week just based on our conversation. I won't go into those, but anyway, I'll turn the mic back to you. It's your turn.
Okay, yeah, I remember those Plymouths. I remember all those cars of that era. But anyway, my Element, we didn't cover transmission fluid. It's 113,000. It's hadn't had fluid change, so. I've got the old timer believe they say don't change it. If when you change it, the stuff goes wrong. So advise me and talk me out of that if it's feasible, Bobby.
Well, actually, that's a really good point because you see, in the essence of a reality, most people. First, we talk about the psychology effect of it. Most people. Or the guilt factor, like, oh, I've got 100,000. I know it's time. It should have been time at 50, but it's got 60, now 70, now 100, and then they get 100, 125, and then either the car stumbles or shifts a little funky, or maybe the fluid is oxidized, which certainly it has, and it's thicker than it was, which it will get thicker. It won't get thinner. And so there will be a change, and I can notice that in my car, and I service mine every 35,000. But I notice my car in the cold weather, cold being 50 degrees here, that it does shift a little differently and a little firmer in the cold weather, and that's because of the viscosity of the fluid. Having said that, so people say, okay, gosh, 125,000, I need to. If I don't do this, maybe there is a problem. So they do it proactively, but which is not proactively because they're only the fear and uncertainty and death, the FUD factor is what drives people. And here's the bottom line. sometimes, not many times, but sometimes there are problems in the transmission. And so when you service the transmission, that doesn't stir up, as a lot of people think, it doesn't stir up debris, it doesn't cause a problem, but the problem was pending. So sooner than later, that problem pops up. And lo and behold, on rare occasions, people will have their transmission serviced, and then all of a sudden, oh, I got a problem. And the shop then says, well, it was okay before you serviced it, because all the above wasn't really talked about, And so a shop then says, well, I'm going to CYA, I'm just going to cover myself. I'm not going to service transmission. But here's a short answer, and I got a hard break coming up. So, and I thank you for your call. Here's a short answer. Always change the fluid, and even if you got 100 to 125,000 miles, it will not cause a problem in a healthy transmission by changing the fluid. You can only add life to the transmission because the additives in the fluid wear out, and there are certain amounts of clutch particles that are in the fluid. And furthermore, if you drive a VCT, that variable transmission, then by all means, you better change it at 35 to no more than 50,000 miles, and that's a drain and fill procedure. So with your Element, I'm not sure if it's got that kind of transmission, but do change it. And thank you so much for your call. Got a hard break coming up. Winter is an especially important time to be car care aware. Here are a few suggestions courtesy of the Car Care Council. Days are shorter, so make sure interior and exterior lights are working properly. Best way to warm your engine? Drive gently at the start. Double check your emergency kit, and don't forget your ice scraper and snow brush. For more great tips, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order your free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove box. That's carcare.org. You've heard me talk about Motorrad's leading the way with automotive thermostats, fuel, oil, and coolant caps. Now, Motorrad's using their expertise in Tier 1 OEM facilities to deliver advanced engine management solutions. Products like camshaft and crankshaft sensors, ignition coils, mass airflow sensors, even variable valve timing solenoids. And Motorrad's aftermarket products are designed and manufactured to meet or exceed original equipment specifications. Learn more about Motorrad products and industry-leading application coverage at motorrad.com. Folks, the most common cause of poor performance and fuel economy in today's gasoline engines is carbon buildup. Carbon's a byproduct of burning gasoline. The detergents found in today's top-tier gasolines help, but not enough to prevent the problem, especially in GDI or gasoline direct injection engines. Enter Berryman products and their new intake valve and combustion chamber cleaner. It's easy to use and rated as one of the best carbon-removing products available. Experts recommend decarbonization every 15 to 30,000 miles to help restore lost power and improve fuel economy. Berryman intake valve and combustion chamber cleaner is professionally formulated for use in all fuel-injected gasoline engines. It contains polyethylamine, or PEA, the most potent detergent available. It's safe on catalytic converters and O2 sensors and can be applied using the universal application accessories included. Berryman's intake valve and combustion chamber cleaner comes complete with everything needed to apply the product, including excellent instructions. There's even a how-to video at berrymanproducts.com. Get your mileage and performance back today with Berryman. That's berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
The airlines like to have sales. Summer getaway sales, holiday sales, winter sales. Truth is, at any moment, some airline somewhere is on sale with low fares to great destinations. Travelocity knows exactly what's going on, who's on sale, to where, and when, at over 700 airlines worldwide. We even have this nifty feature that lets you look at a calendar so that you can see exactly the days the great fares are available. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere. AOL keyword, travel.
Hun, guess my temperature.
It's 2 a.m. Go to sleep.
Come on, one guess.
I'm 98.
Higher.
Higher at 99.
You're getting warmer. Wait, I'm getting warmer.
Cold symptoms keeping you from getting a good night's sleep? Get NyQuil, the nighttime sniffling, sneezing, coughing, aching, stuffy head, fever so you can sleep better to feel better medicine. Use as directed.
One more guess.
100?
Yes. Tell her what she's won, Bob.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. I want to take this time to just share a shout out we at Bobby Likis Car Clinic would like to extend our sincerest welcome to our newest affiliate to the Car Clinic family, KJFF Straight Talk 1400 AM. And folks, KJAF holds the title of being Jefferson County's only daily medium chronicling area news and information. So a hearty thanks to KJFF for your partnership with Bobby Likis Car Clinic. We appreciate you and all the folks in Jefferson County area. You just remember, you tune in Saturdays to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and even give us a call at 888 Car Clinic for your car questions. We're not a fix-it car show. However, I am, I would say, a doctor of cars, and I have for some 50 years been involved professionally in the automotive service industry. So I know the difference between changing oil and an inspection, a thorough inspection that should be performed at least twice per year on your vehicle. Oh, and by the way, that includes an oil change. That's really the way it works. At least that's the way it works in the professional world, where you want to be proactive and save money by keeping your car and knowing what's going to happen, keep it healthy, and knowing ahead of time. So anyway, hats off to KJFF Straight Talk 1400 AM. The number to call is 888-227-2546. We're going to go to New York, take a call from Justin. And then I want to share with you folks some information that we talked about. It's a B-roll, and B-roll means that we have footage from the Consumer Electronics Show from Samsung with regard to the new technology and how Samsung is involved in the automotive transportation world. Meantime, let's go to Justin. Justin, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. And you're going to have to go to line 6 there, line 5. There you go. Good morning, Justin. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Morning, Bobby. How you doing today?
I'm great, man. How about yourself?
Oh, not too bad. I got a 2009 Kia Borrego, and I'm having the lights come on the dash for the ABS, the electronic stability control, the downhill assist, and the traction control are all on. It's an intermittent problem.
Okay, here's all of those components are not bad. So don't worry that you've got, oh my gosh, I've got traction control, I got ABS system, and ABS module's bad, and other areas. Each one of those options, accessories, well, they're no longer accessories, they're part of all today's cars now, but each one of those systems use the component operation of others. For example, the ABS, which is an anti-lock brake system, has a speedometer if it's a 4-stage system, which means you have 4 wheels. So there's a speedometer in each of the wheels, literally. And it's electronic control, and it literally, you can think of a ring about the size of 4 inches, 3 inches, a ring of steel, let's say. And it literally is just a ring, and it has teeth all around its perimeter, and it presses onto an axle. And then there's a pickup magnetic, electromagnetic pickup that is close to it. Doesn't touch because it would, of course, wear it out. But it's about, let's say, 50 thousandths, 90 thousandths away from the teeth that go around and around. So that as the wheel turns, each one of those teeth sends a signal. So if you've got 30 teeth, and you've got 30 teeth on each of the reluctor rings of each of the wheels, and all the wheels are reporting, let's say, 40 miles an hour, Justin. So you're going 40 miles an hour, and then you a panic stop because of traffic, or maybe a child runs out with a ball, playing a ball, whatever, and you nail the brakes like we all do, which is the worst thing you can do. Because that means that you lock the wheels up, and then the car goes round and round, you lose control. So that's why ABS was first installed on automobiles. Actually, it came from the aircraft industry years ago, and Alfred Tevis is the inventor of ABS, not Bosch. Bosch was the first company to install ABS on a vehicle, on a car. I'll put it that way, because a plane's a vehicle too. But anyway, So as you're driving and you nail the brakes, whichever of the tires has the poorest traction or weight transfer goes to the front, usually the right rear or left rear, will lock up. And when it does, that speedometer for that wheel tells the onboard computer, oh, hey, that wheel's locking up. And it will trigger the ABS module that will pump the brakes on that wheel. And by pumping the brakes,
Right.
it means you let off the brake and you apply it. Well, every time the ABS electronic module lets off the brake, then the tire gets traction because you're letting off the brake. You still have the brakes on the other three wheels that are not locking up, and so because it chooses the highest priority, obviously the one that's locking up. So I said all that to say that under severe braking conditions, whichever wheel locks up will be triggered to unlock and lock, unlock and lock, about 15 times a second or so, and that's what ABS does. Now let's turn that around. Instead of panic stopping, let's do a drag race start. So you're sitting at a traffic light, and this is really fun. I did this for a gentleman one day and scared him, and then he realized just how great that system was. We were sitting at a traffic light. It was rainy weather. And I said, watch this. And I nailed the throttle. And so the car started to leap forward. Well, when it did, the wheels started to spin. Well, remember, that same set of speedometers that tells the car how fast it's going, also from a standstill, if front wheels were going a half a mile per hour, 2 miles per hour, and the right rear wheel was going 40 miles or 100 miles an hour, it would say, wait a minute, there's a problem with the wheel. So the first thing that would happen, and here's the important part to think about. The first thing that would happen, and should happen, when you nail the throttle, you should let off the gas pedal. Well, people react, they don't react fast. They're proactive. I mean, they're reactive, not proactive. And besides, you couldn't do it fast enough humanly anyway. So what that system does now is the ABS will apply the brake to the wheel that is spinning too fast, but it also triggers another module that shuts the engine down. So you could hold the pedal to the metal, you could depress the accelerator pedal all the way down and hold it, but an electronic override, because the car is driven by wire, you don't really have a throttle cable going to the throttle, so the electronics would shut the engine down. So there
right, that's what it'll do even on dry pavement. I can go out
absolutely.
And hit the gas and it drops right out.
Yeah,
yes.
It does drop right out because it says, oh, you can't do that. You're going to lose control. So I said all that to say this: if we had a loose gas cap and the check engine light was on, the traction control light would come on, because if Bobby and Justin, if Justin is the traction control and I'm the engine, whenever you tell me that the right rear wheel is spinning because I'm nailing the throttle, I have to turn the throttle off, even though the driver still has the throttle on. Well, when I have my check engine light on, because the gas cap, and I'm just making this up, but it's true, when I have my check engine light, the first thing that you do, you say, hey, wait a minute, you tell the crowd, which is the car, I can't do my job because Bobby has a problem. You don't know what the problem is, but you know the check engine light is on. So what you do is you hold your hand up. You're the stability control, so you hold your hand up and you say, don't count on me, I'm out. And then the ABS says, well, don't count on me, I'm out too. And the next thing you know, you got all these lights on because you got a loose gas cap. Now, and this is, Lexus is really sensitive about this. So I relay this to you and I share this with our listeners, because just because you have multiple lights on absolutely does not mean that you have multiple problems, folks. So don't just put in your mind, oh my God, this is going to cost me a fortune. You want to go into a certified shop, and then we'll not only read the codes, that anybody can do that. We'll actually go into the architecture, the electronic architecture, and operate the ABS system and verify these things. So here's what I believe to be your problem. I believe that you have an ABS wheel speed sensor, one of 4, that is erratic in its operation. And because you live in New York, I believe that it's a rust factor, and that the corrosion has invaded that little small area between the reluctor and the little finger, the little pickup tube, or it's not a tube, it's a sensor, and it's seeing corrosion as a signal. And so you could just brush it.
This seemed to all start after I had my tires installed, new tires put on. Is it could have been damaged from?
No way, because the wheel lugs are not connected to they're in the same house. They're attached to the same axle, but they're not connected to the reluctor or the sensor. So that's
okay.
So here's what I would do. You go to a certified shop there in New York, and you have them to check the speed sensors, the wheel sensors, and they can perform that using a professional scan tool, because literally you can put the car on the lift and you can connect your sensor. We can connect our scan tool and then turn each wheel just by hand and watch the gauge, and the gauge is going to say, oh, you're turning the wheel 1 inch. 1 mile per hour, half a mile per hour. And if you've got one if you turn them all the same speed, you got one that spikes at 5 miles per hour or jumps up and down, there's a problem there. Plus, you'll visually inspect, although some sensors are a little difficult to get to. So that's what your next job is to have a local shop, certified shop, ASE, and you can go to asashop.org and find a shop in your area and have them to inspect the wheel speed sensors and perform a scan for any codes in your architecture of your system. And then you'll have the information you need to make intelligent repair decisions. You got it?
I do. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Appreciate all your help today, Bobby.
Thank you. Thanks for the nice words, Justin. Appreciate it. Folks, I have on the phone, I won't try to squeeze him in now, Justin Bell. And, actually, James Bell. I was thinking of Justin. James Bell. Sorry, James. We're going to go to him. He's a director of corporate communications for Kia from the from the Detroit Auto Show. Don't go away. A 2015 Ford Escape recently came into the shop, 120,000 miles and going strong, but it was starting to hesitate, and the customer also complained of declining fuel economy. This 2-liter turbocharged engine is GDI, or gas direct injection, and special maintenance is needed in certain areas, particularly the fuel system. We suspected carbon buildup, and sure enough, using a borescope through the spark plug hole, there was definite evidence of carbon buildup. GDI engines are different in the way they inject fuel, and it can create some issues with repair and maintenance. That's why it's important to use products rated for GDI, like Berryman's 4-step professional air and fuel management maintenance kit. Each step of the process is designed with GDI engines in mind. We use the kit, and after 2 weeks on the road, the car is performing noticeably better, and MPG has improved a bit. Learn more about Berryman's 4-step professional air and fuel management maintenance kits and other great products at berrymanproducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Waking up can be a chore, but morning's knocking on my front door. Know just what I'll do. Put on a pot of Folgers brew. Mountain grown aroma hits the spot. Helps me give all that I've got. An opportunity to start out smiling and happy. The best part of waking up is Folgers in your cup.
I'm privileged to be involved with Capstone Adaptive Learning, formerly known as United Cerebral Palsy, for over 25 years. Since 1953, Capstone has provided quality care programs for persons with developmental disabilities like autism, cerebral palsy, Down syndrome, and intellectual disabilities. Dr. Sherry White with her team are dedicated to Capstone's clients, and 100% of your contributions stay local to serve those in this community. Go to capstoneadaptivelearning.org to see the difference Capstone makes.
Technology moves at the speed of innovation, and today, that's lightning fast. So when you get your hands on the latest tech, don't forget to do the right thing with your old devices. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old tech device as easy as purchasing new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the responsible recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find lots of tips to simplify your recycling, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Television sets, video game consoles, smartphones, tablets, they're all recyclable. Don't let them clog up your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org. You're sharp enough to get the latest tech tools into your home. Now be responsible enough to get your old devices to the recycler. That's greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Terrific program today, folks. I'll take your car questions at 888 Car Clinic right after we talk with James Bell, the Director of Corporate Communications for Kia Motors, who's on the hotline with us from the North American International Auto Show in Detroit with news of the Kia Telluride SUV. James, welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Oh, Bobby, it's a pleasure to hear your voice, and it's great sharing great news with you. So thanks for having me on.
Oh, my pleasure. I hear there's big news from the North American Car of the Year jury. Share with our Car Clinic listeners and viewers all about this award.
Yes, well, a little history was made with the North American Car of the Year jury, as you mentioned. The Kia Telluride, which is a midsize SUV that we launched, I guess, probably back in February, March of 2019. Has just continued to break sales records after record and just knocked the media sideways with its success. And it was named North American SUV of the Year, which is a huge honor for the brand and a big shock sort of to the industry because, you know, the SUV market is really what the American car companies developed and designed. And here we have an upstart from Korea that has captured the imagination, not just of the North American Car of the Year jurors, but also Motor Trend's SUV of the Year and Car and Driver's 10 Best list. So we're making history over here, Bobby.
Well, congratulations on the win. The Kia Telluride SUV really has been racking up a lot of awards, as you say. What makes the Telluride so special? It's just amazing. And as you said, there's a lot of OEMs, a lot of car manufacturers are saying, what are they doing over there at Kia that's working so well?
Well, you know, I think it's a combination of two things. It's a sense of value. You know, Kia is always delivering on that. And this vehicle is fully loaded up. You can't make it more than $50,000. And it's taking on products from a technology and performance and kind of design perspective that are twice the price. I mean, we have a lot of people that compare it to Range Rovers, you know, again, at less than $50,000. So I think that's part of it. The value story is there, but it's also just the way the car drives. You know, we have a gentleman by the name of Albert Bierman, who was the chief engineer for BMW's M division for many years, joined Kia maybe 3 or 4 years ago now. And we call it the Bierman effect. He basically signs off on the most or the best state of tune for the vehicle from a performance and handling and overall feel perspective. And I think that what people love about the Telluride is, like I say, it looks the part, it's a great value, but then it drives the part. It's very, I like to say it's like a professional athlete. It's very coordinated. You know, it's just easy to drive, but fun to drive. And that is just a winning combination.
Well, obviously, it's a winning combination. What really amazes me, and I've watched the notoriety, I've watched how the public has received this vehicle, and I'll see the commercials on television, and I think of you, and I think of the Kia the corporate guys as well. But, you know, James, what I see is I see a vehicle that, for the most part, delivers what all the other SUVs are delivering at 60% of the price. I mean, you're talking, and you said Range Rover, now you're talking a lot of bucks there. It just appears to me that Kia's got their act together. Folks, we're talking with Kia's Director of Corporate Communications, James Bell. Share with some of the packages, the technology, and the cargo space. How does that stack up against the other guys?
Well, when you look at the design from the outside, we like to call it big, bold, and boxy. A lot of the newer SUVs are kind of catering more to design, a little more swoopy angles and things like that, which are nice, but they ultimately then impact interior space. The boxier the vehicle is on the outside, the more space you can then utilize on the inside. And so the Telluride has done an amazing job on that. It's up to an 8-passenger vehicle with still lots of good room in the very back of the vehicle if you coming from the airport with a full load of folks. So it definitely maximizes the exterior design to maximize the interior space. And technology, it's our most autonomous vehicle, if you will. It's at level 3 now, so it isn't that you can jump in and push a button and then climb in the back seat and take a nap. But it is Kia's very latest and very most aggressive technology for keeping the vehicle in lane, monitoring other vehicles around you, basically having eyes and ears, if you will, on the road, 360 degrees at all times. So it's a very safe vehicle, a very spacious vehicle, and very comfortable to drive. So it's all there.
Got it. Just one last question, if I could ever have just one last question, James. Is this an imported car that's made elsewhere? Or, tell us the story about the origin and where it's manufactured and what's going on in that neck of the woods.
I'm so glad you brought that up, Bobby. So, yes, this vehicle was designed in the U.S., is being built in the U.S. for the U.S. market. So it's designed just across the street from where I am right now at our design center here in Irvine, California, by several Americans who are really big into the action sports space. So they wanted, plenty of room for their things, but then also have that fun kind of off-road attitude. It's then built at our facility in West Point, Georgia, where we just celebrated our 10-year anniversary and continue to make award-winning products out of that facility. And then, as I say, sold to the U.S. market. We are also importing a small amount of them to the Middle East because they also like vehicles of this kind of toughness and attitude. But, designed, built, and made for the American marketplace.
Well, certainly in the length of time, which has been very short for the Telluride's introduction to the market, to the point that it received this car. Folks, this is the car SUV of the year at the North American International Auto Show in Detroit. And that's like, okay, Kia has arrived, and James Bell, certainly I always love it when you arrive right here on us and with us at Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Thanks for joining us today, and again, hats off to all the folks in California and in Georgia where they make the Kia Telluride that's made in the USA and delivered to Americans. That's pretty cool. Thanks.
Thank you, Bobby.
Yeah, that is cool. Think about it. You think about, let's say domestic, foreign. And I can remember, we all can, folks, and still to this day, there's some domestic and foreign. When I think of domestic and foreign, you might think, well, Lexus, it's Toyota. That's a foreign car, but Toyota has so many build facilities. And then, of course, Kia and Hyundai, they decided to start building cars in the U.S., and they've done it now. This car is being, as you heard, James say, they're designing this car in California, but they're assembling it in Georgia. So it's really cool in the Telluride. And I'll tell you what's really cool, $50,000. And this car looks like a Range Rover, which is $150, well, not $150, but they're $100,000. So I really am, not because I have a connection to James Bell. He's been on the air with us a lot of times, but I like the Kia. I like Hyundai cars. And one of my favorite cars, although I haven't driven the new one, which I intend to do, is a G90 Genesis, which, as you know, is a Hyundai, but it's a Genesis. And anyway, enough about that. But I just find it very interesting, and we could produce if we had the time and wanted to do it. All of these broadcasts from the North American International Auto Show in Detroit, or in Los Angeles, or from SEMA, or from the Consumer Electronics Show. But I will tell you, logistically, it's a lot of work involved. So I'm not saying that we're not going to do that, but ever again. But we can have these folks to come to us on Saturday and give us reports, which is a lot easier for me and a crew, and also a lot more convenient for you. Let's go to James, who has an 11 Dodge Caravan. James, good morning. Welcome to
Yes,
Bobby
sir.
Likis Car Clinic. How you doing?
Good morning. I'm actually doing pretty good. I'm enjoying the weather down here where I'm at.
Ah, terrific. Where are you from?
I'm actually from Idaho, but I'm working in Florida for the moment.
And what kind of work do you do?
I climb cell phone towers and replace antennas, radios, and wiring harnesses.
You climb cell phone towers?
Yes, sir.
Have you ever seen, have you ever seen the video, and folks, if you haven't seen it, you should Google this, but James, have you ever seen the video of those high power, 500,000 volt, the guys that are on helicopters and fly up and service those 500,000 volt high wires, and they use a stick, and that voltage goes, and because the helicopter is not grounded, then it doesn't shock anybody. But I mean, it's amazing. And folks, if you haven't seen that, I don't know how it would be listed under Google, Fabio. I think it's high wire electric helicopter. I forget now, something like that. But anyway, let's get to your question. Thanks for calling. What can I do for you?
Well, my wife, she's also back in Idaho right now, so I can't directly look at the problem, but we have a 2011 Dodge Grand Caravan, and the other night when she was on her way home, all the warning lights, and I mean every single warning light in the vehicle, popped on, and then the van died.
Right.
We had a friend who was able to come out and jump her, which is apparently what it needed at the time, get it home.
Right.
The only thing I could think of that might reset the system was to disconnect the battery. So I said, okay, disconnect the battery, go relax, put the kids to bed, come back out, hook it back up.
Right.
Well, about 45 minutes later, she hooked it back up, and it didn't reset anything. Now, the key is stuck in the ignition, and the entire vehicle won't even power on. And she can't shift when she does turn the key into the run position.
Well, yes, because the vehicle doesn't have enough battery power, to operate the little park lock solenoid, where you turn the key and then you step on the brake to pull a car out of park after you crank it.
Yes, sir.
But it doesn't have enough power. The first thing that comes to my mind, of course, is the 2011. Do you know the age of the battery in the vehicle?
The battery is barely a year old, and it was brand new when we bought it. I put it in myself.
Okay.
I'm not nearly as mechanically inclined as you are, but I know I put the battery in right.
I got you. Well, yeah, positive, negative. You know it. Yeah. You would have known before now. You wouldn't have to call me. But you know what? you could have an alternator problem, and then the battery would be totally drained. There could be some parasitic draw. But here's the bottom line. The fact is that this car put her down, and she was jump started, and it drove her home okay. I'm gonna say that and this is wishful thinking, but and I'm not just saying this to make you feel good, but it might just be that the battery is bad. Even if it's a year old, it could still be a defective battery, or whatever. It could be even it could be even a battery connection. So the first thing that I would suggest is to have a friend come over and disconnect the car's battery, or disconnect the battery cable and hook up another, we use what's called a jump box, which is a pretty heavy, you're familiar with jump box, which has its own battery. So the first thing let's do is let's give the vehicle another source of power and hook up a battery to it. Now, that's not the same as charging the existing battery, because if the existing battery, even though it's a year old, could have been defective, and if it had one of the straps within the battery that's erratic in the connection. You've got 6 cells that are connected together, and each one of the cells has 2 volts. That's where you get 6 times 2. That's where you get your 12-volt battery. So
Okay.
There's an inner wire. It's actually a little cable in a bridge, but there's an inner connector. And if that happens to be the problem, which would be lucky for you, if that happened to be the problem, it would give you some erratic behavior like she has. So the first thing you do is to take out the bad apple, which means disconnect the possibly bad apple, the bad battery, and connect another battery and see if the car cranks and runs. And then if it does, then you could take the next step, either take the battery back or she could have someone to help her. Remind her of if this does work, James, if this works, then what she can do is go back where you bought the battery and they'll give her another battery. But understand this, make sure she doesn't place that battery in the trunk or the back seat or the floor of another car, because it will have acid on its surface and it will cause it'll eat the carpet up. And so, in other words, just get in other words, like a lot of times people say, oh, I'm going to take this battery and get it checked, or I'm going to go get a battery for someone and try to help. And then they'll put the battery in the back of the car. That's the worst thing you can do. So get an old box of some kind. It doesn't matter. And if you don't have an old box, get a garbage bag and put it down so that the battery is insulated from the carpet or the car, and then, you know, just understand that that's a nasty thing to carry around, because it could have acid on it. And that's really that's all the time that I have for this hour, but let me know how that works for you. And in the meantime, we're here every Saturday for you. If you give me a shout, I can help you, okay?
Oh, I will again, sir. Thank you very much.
You're welcome, James. Good luck. Folks, that is all the time that we have for this hour. But I promise you, next hour, we're going to run the B-roll from the Consumer Electronics Show, that's Samsung. And it's really neat because it's about the 5G telematics control, and it's what's called a TCU. It's a telematics control unit, and BMW. And it's really cool. You'll have to just tune in to see what it's all about. It's really way cool. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us, you'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Folks, you never want to get surprised by a dead battery. A vehicle's original battery generally lasts about 3 to 5 years, but many fail long before then. Next time you're in for an oil service, have the technician test your battery. Better now than too late. Today's vehicles have start-stop systems, navigation, radio amplifiers, electric fuel pumps, 25 or more onboard computer modules, and serious electronic controls that depend on a strong, fully charged battery. Make sure the car you're driving has a healthy battery. Make yourself a note. Go to autobatteries.com and see for yourself how a battery can keep you safely driving down the road or put you on the side, just like that. At autobatteries.com, you'll see battery technology, battery testing, how to choose the battery, how to jumpstart your battery, and more about AGM batteries, my choice. I'm not here to make you a battery expert, rather to help you better understand why a reliable battery is essential for your road trips. Go to autobatteries.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
If you're familiar with the Kulseford section of the newspaper, you probably understand this message quite well. You see, in the Kulseford section, everything gets abbreviated. Consonants, vowels, prepositional phrases, the very building blocks of our language are thrown right out the window. And that makes it difficult when you're trying to sell your car. You've got a limited amount of space to work with. And by the time you abbreviate the description of your car down to a couple of fragmented sentences, it sounds less like a car and more like a Bluck sedan with sniffed like new condition lemulls. No wonder more people are selling their cars through eBay Motors. They can post unlimited text and photo descriptions, and with a nationwide marketplace, they're likely to sell it for more. Plus, both parties can be covered by eBay's vehicle protection program. Buyers are happy, sellers are happy, and no one's abbreviating. eBay Motors, a better way to sell your car.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 3-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Bobby Likis Car Clinic begins at 6 minutes after the hour. Countdown to 1-minute mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Countdown to 30-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Count down to 10-second mark. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, mark. Welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. If you have a car question for Bobby, call now at 1-800-264-5454, toll free from anywhere in America. And now, here's your host, Bobby Likis.
Thump, 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 thump. Oh, what is that? That's a flat tire. Oh, that's the worst thing in the world. You're on the highway and all of a sudden, boom, 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 or worse yet, and we've all seen this on television. Oh, welcome to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Sorry about that. We all see, and a lot of marketing for automotive services use this. You've got the woman on the side of the road with her kids in the car and the hood's open and smoke's coming out. That's a kiss of death. It really is. And I'll tell you what, you think it won't happen to you, it will happen. You have to be proactive about your car. So I'll take your car questions and I'll help you be proactive. So what for? So you can keep your car in your garage and out of mine. This program is brought to you in part by our partners at Berryman Products. Bobby Likis Car Clinic brought to you today by Motorrad as well. And Motorrad, by the way, is offering an extensive line of advanced engine management products, including the camshaft and crankshaft sensors that we talk about, ignition coils, mass airflow sensors, and variable valve timing solenoids. That's a huge workable part in today's high-tech engines where the camshafts vary, the timing of the camshafts, and there's electric solenoids that control oil flow to and away from the cam sprocket to advance the cams. Drive on over to motorrad.com for more information. Okay, let's get started. 888-227-2546 when I come back. Time for another edition of Cooling System Q&A brought to you by Motorrad, your first choice for vehicle thermostats and caps. Why is the thermostat so important? Cooling system regulates engine temperature and helps prevent overheating. While it's comprised of several components, the thermostat plays a critical role with efficient cooling system operation. It must regulate coolant flow properly to maintain a specific engine operating temperature in addition to providing quick warm-up. Motorrad's new stainless steel thermal element Ultrastat is unmatched for corrosion resistance. Its revolutionary Reax wax mixture provides quicker reaction time. The Ultrastat also features bilinear valve technology, which prevents thermal shock to cooling system components, gradually increasing coolant flow versus instant maximum flow found in traditional thermostats. The Ultrastat precisely controls engine temperature to ensure the lowest emission standards, maximum fuel efficiency, and terrific interior cabin comfort. The Motorrad Ultrastat line is the perfect thermostat upgrade option with coverage for over 160 million vehicles on the road today. Motorrad, leading the way in coverage and service. Folks, a 91 Lumina came into the shop this week with a 3.1-liter V6 leaking coolant. The customer said there was coolant coming from the front of the engine and was worried it may need costly repair. After diagnosis, we confirmed it had a failing head gasket. Checking the labor guide for times, adding the cost of the head gasket set, plus coolant, oil, and filter, and miscellaneous, the repair would definitely cost more than this vehicle was worth. Not the holiday present our customer was hoping for. So we provided another option, K-Seal. K-Seal is a pour-in solution designed to stop leaks and help prevent future leaks. Older sealers use sodium silicate, which has a tendency to clog the system. K-Seal features ceramic technology that's designed to repair the leak without clogging and help prevent future leaks. One bottle completely sealed the leak within 10 minutes, and our customer was very happy. K-Seal is available at fine retailers everywhere, like O'Reilly Auto Parts. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Another lending success story from LendingTree.com.
Car dealers like playing games. They play percentage points, they play markups, but I don't like playing with my money. So I got my auto loan through LendingTree.com. I filled out one simple form, a marketplace of banks and lenders competed over it, and I got 4 offers back within hours. After all, the car buying game is a lot easier to win when you're holding all the cards.
LendingTree.com. When banks compete, you win. For additional information and state license disclosures, please visit our website located at lendingtree.com.
Driving has a rhythm all its own. Don't wreck it with a text. Before you get behind the wheel, silence your phone. Or better yet, designate a texter. For more text-free driving tips, visit stoptextstoprex.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
Okay, let's get started with this hour. Here's what I have planned. Well, actually, don't have anything. Well, that's not true. I do have certain things planned. I have some B-roll that our team put together, actually collected from the Consumer Electronics Show. So if you're on Watch Bobby Live, or if you're in a situation where you're listening to the radio, you should also tune in to your computer and go to watchbobbylive.com, because we're going to roll a B-roll. It's very interesting. And if I were to say to you, and we're not going to do that quite yet, but I'll just cue you, Fabio, when we do get ready. Folks, if I were to ask you what V2, the number 2X means, V2X, what does that mean? It means vehicle to everything. Now, what does that mean? That's part of what Samsung is putting together with this, and we've all heard about the 5G network. I mean, gosh, by the time the 5G network, gets here, it's going to be old school. And I, for one, although I love new technology, I really don't see how they're going to supercharge the connectivity. So, Fabio, do you believe that we're going to go from 50 megabits per second to 1,000 megabits per second? I mean, I don't know that 5G is going to do that, but I don't really know the difference between what we have now and 5G, except that for what it's world are working feverishly. And of course, the telephones, AT&T and Sprint and Verizon, and because each one of them has the best. If you don't believe it, just turn the tube on and watch TV. Ours is the best. Theirs is the worst. Can you hear me now? And those sorts of things. And so what I have found is that, and I believe this wholeheartedly, you have to jump ship. And I really don't like to jump ship. What does that mean? It's like insurance companies. You ride along with an insurance for X amount of years, and all of a sudden there's a better deal. But you hate to do that because you've got a relationship. Well, understand this. There is no relationship with an insurance company. It is what you buy. It's a contract for what you buy, and there's this pages of explanations of what's covered and what is not covered. So you might well want to review your insurance cover. And I'm not selling insurance. That would be far from my bucket list. Anyway, you want to review your coverage because your coverage changes every year. So those are the kind of things that I want to share with you. And also, I'll take your questions. I apologize for just now giving you the number, but that's okay. 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. I do have some information here. And we'll roll that B-roll, maybe the second segment of this hour. So if you're on Watch Bobby Live, you want to stay there because we're going to show you an animated, and it is animated, explanation of what V2X means, which is vehicle to everything. And that means that as you're driving your vehicle up to a corner, the vehicle can see around the corner and tell if there's a lady pushing a baby buggy. Really? Yeah, it's really, really way cool. I've seen this video, and we're going to run it. But in the meantime, I want to share with you, while you're making your call, Hannah will take your calls at 888-227-2546, some information from AAA and from Kelley Blue Book. That's where I got this, kbb.com. That's where I got this information. And Dave Phillips is a senior public affairs specialist at State Farm Insurance, and he suggested the following 20 winter driving tips to reduce the probability of an accident. So here we go. Stay home. Well, I mean, that's the first thing. If the weather's bad, stay home. Only go out when necessary. Well, I think that merits some thought. I can tell you, in our neck of the woods on the Gulf Coast, you can be at the beautiful, beautiful beaches of Pensacola, Florida, or Destin, or Fort Walton, the Gulf Coast, beautiful beaches. And there'll be sunlight, and there'll be just droves of people there. And you can let one black cloud come over in this mass exodus. Never seen anything like it in my life. I don't know, Fabio, if you've ever noticed that. I've noticed it, is that people here are so sensitive to bad weather. Now, granted, we've had our share of hurricanes, but really, the one thing about Florida, folks, and for those of you who are tuned in Washington, the state of Washington, and California, Nebraska, all our affiliates all over, in Florida, you have bad weather. Just wait about 20 minutes; it'll change. And I'm not lying. I mean, that's the way it is. But anyway, I'll go on with this list. I won't give you all the details, but so first is stay home. Then remove snow and ice. You carry a brush that removes the snow on the vehicle's roof, the hood, the trunk lid. Now, I don't really. I understand what that means, but I will share this with you. One of the worst things you can do is use a hard instrument to try to get snow off of something, or to use something other than a credit card or something to get snow off a window, because you're going to end up scratching the paint on your automobile. So you just, it's kind of like the devil. And never use your windshield washers, because they're going to put a sheet of ice on your windshield. Decrease the speed. I agree with that wholeheartedly. Remember, the bridges and the overpasses freeze first. So you're cruising along on the highway, next thing you know, you go over a bridge, and all of a sudden, boom, you lose control. So many distractions. You really need to focus your attention more so on what's going on out the windshield when the weather is bad than what's going on in the car. No distractions. And that goes for kids or anything else. And we interviewed a gentleman that lost his child, and I won't go into that story because he literally broke up during the interview, and he had to do with the safety, and it was saferkids.org or safekids.org, and he was a director because they had a child in the car. I said I wasn't going to tell the story, but I have to, because he had a child in the car, and they lost the air conditioner, and they were just outside of Vegas, and he'd been on the road for a long time, and the child was uncomfortable in the child's seat, and so he asked his wife, well, let's take the clothes off, take some of the clothes off the child, and he fell asleep. Not the child, the driver, because they'd been awake and it was hot and what have you, and lost control. And when he woke up, his child that they had just taken out of the baby seat, well, he lost his child. And that's when he decided that he wanted to make sure nobody made that mistake before. It was very difficult to hear that interview. Maybe I'll get him back on one day, because his message was very powerful, because he had been there and done that. The four-wheel, all-wheel drive myth. You can get a false sense of security thinking that just because you got a four-wheel drive car, you're safer. Well, those drivers, according to this gentleman at State Farm, fail to realize that is their SUV steering, brakes, cornering, and general maneuverability on snow and slush and ice is no better than a front or rear drive sedan. And that's true. It's traction. You lose traction, whether you got 10 wheels or 2 wheels. If you don't have traction, you don't have control. Fill her up. I agree with this. You don't want to run out of gasoline and get stuck. So when you get down to half a tank or just under half, find a place and keep the car filled. Resist the impulse to floor it. Well, that just stands to reason. You probably get stuck in snow. If you do, don't floor it. You're not going to go faster or get out any quicker. You could rock the car back and forth. That's particularly tough because a lot of transmissions won't go into gear for, back up and go forward, reverse and forward with RPM. But just ease up and let off the gas. Ease up and let off the gas and get into a rhythm like a pendulum, and then maybe you can get out of that vehicle. Train your teenager drivers. Well, you don't have to have bad weather for that to be a to-do. Respect snow plows. Now that's a good idea because the snow plow driver is in a noisy environment and doesn't know you're there. So just make sure that when you do see a snow plow, you slow down and go around it and watch very carefully. Watch for deer. You can keep an eye out for changing weather conditions in deer. Black ice. That's the pavement that looks wet, but it's actually is ice covered. Don't use cruise control. That's a fact. Do not use cruise control. And you don't have to be in cold weather. Even in the rain, do not use cruise control. Check your wiper blades. The windshield washer fluid, as I said, it can freeze, and you can add antifreeze to that. Not the same coolant you got in your car, but special windshield washer fluid. Clean the headlights, the taillights, check the tires, and don't forget the spare. That's more, but that's all I'll share with you. I'll expect your calls. I'm going to come back, and we're going to tell you what's going on between Samsung and the new technology. Don't go away. In the service bay this week, an 05 Chevy Silverado. The truck was experiencing a front brake noise and a pull to the left when stopping. We performed a thorough inspection and found the front pads completely worn out on the driver's side. The passenger side looked to be okay, but we noticed a loose wheel bearing on that side. Why would the pads be worn on just one side? It was a seized driver's side brake caliper. So we replaced the pads and rotors on the front along with the driver's side caliper. Also replaced the passenger side wheel bearing. Our parts choice for the repair, Omnicraft. With today's complex vehicles, not every part works or works well. Quality, fit, and function is a belief system in my shop. Approved and backed by Ford Motor Company for most non-Ford and non-Lincoln vehicles, Omnicraft quality brake parts will help ensure vehicle reliability and longevity. Learn more about Omnicraft brakes and other Omnicraft parts at omnicraftautoparts.com. Omnicraft Auto Parts, backed by Ford. Being car care aware is important all year round, but winter is an especially critical time as harsher conditions can strain your automobile. Here are a few items to check, courtesy of the Car Care Council. Winter means shorter days and longer nights. It's a great time to make sure interior and exterior lights are working properly, and don't forget to make sure your headlights are properly aimed. This item is often overlooked. The best way to warm up your engine in the winter is to drive gently at the start. Make sure your ice scraper and snow brush are accessible, and replenish your emergency kit. Jumper cables, a flashlight, blankets, extra clothes, bottled water, non-perishable food, and a first aid kit with any medication that may be needed. It may seem like a lot, but better safe than sorry. For more great tips, videos, and recommended service schedules, visit carcare.org. And while you're there, order a free copy of the Car Care Guide for your glove compartment. That's carcare.org.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
Telephone tip
from Geico Auto Insurance.
When calling Geico to switch your car insurance, you will not need acetaminophen, naproxen, indomethacin, ibuprofen, a cold compress, an on-call acupuncturist, or any other pain remedy. In 15 minutes, you could save 15% or more. If it were any more painless, you could do it in your sleep, which is theoretically possible since we offer complete 24-hour service. Call 1-800-947-AUTO, 1-800-947-AUTO. Geico Direct, the sensible alternative.
When you purchase the latest TV, tablet, or smartphone, don't forget to do the right thing with your old ones. Recycle them. The Consumer Technology Association and its members are making recycling your old devices as easy as buying new ones. Just go to greenergadgets.org, type in your zip code, and you'll instantly find the recycling location closest to your home. You'll also find recycling tips, like asking the store where you buy your new TV if they'll haul away your old one. Don't let your old tech tools clog your local landfill. Just visit greenergadgets.org.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic, brought to you in part by our partners at the Car Care Council. If you're traveling this winter, remember to follow the 3 P's of car care: prepare, prevent, and plan. You can save money and you can avoid breakdowns, which is exactly what you'd like to do and should be doing. Be prepared and plan, and you'll prevent those breakdowns. You can learn more from our partners at carcare.org. And while you're there, there's a handy-dandy free guide to car care that you need to review and keep in your glove compartment, and it's free from our partners at the Car Care Council. Go to carcare.org. I want to take this opportunity to welcome a new affiliate to the Car Clinic family, and that would be KJFF Straight Talk, 1400 AM. And folks, KJFF holds the title of being Jefferson County's only daily medium chronicling area news and information. I want to thank all the folks at KJFF for partnering with Bobby Likis Car Clinic, and we appreciate you. I'm Bobby Likis, and this is Car Clinic. Like us, you'll love us. Let us hear from you at 888 Car Clinic. That's 888-227-2546. Okay, so here's what we're going to do now. As I promised, Samsung recently, along with hundreds of other, there were thousands of people there at the Consumer Electronics Annual Show in Las Vegas. And that's where everybody comes to show their new widgets. And these are new widgets. Well, we're going to roll a video now on Watch Bobby Live that will illustrate what I'm going to share with you verbally. Okay, so here we go. V2X, Vehicle to Everything. Now, this is technology that Samsung is rolling out and showed during the Consumer Electronics Show. And folks, V2X, Vehicle to Everything, is a key component of connected driving. Underpinned by 5G connectivity, there's that 5G I mentioned, the solution provides real-time updates on hazards that develop beyond the driver's line of sight and allows the vehicle to respond to that and them in a safe and timely manner. And as I mentioned at the CES, that's the Consumer Electronics 2020 show, Samsung showcased how the 5G TCU, that's the telematics control unit, pairs with the V2X, the Vehicle to Everything technology, and the reduced latency, which is enabled by 5G to allow for the delivery of enhanced driving information without delay, without latency. That's really, it's truly real-time actions. So what Samsung did was they joined BMW to showcase the new approaches to creating the mobility experience of the future with the world's first commercialized 5G telematics control unit. And BMW, in turn, announced that 2021's BMW iNext. Remember that, because it's going to be a year before you hear about this, but you heard it first on Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Well, second, unless you were at the Consumer Electronics Show. The BMW's iNext will be the first car in the world to be equipped with 5G technology from Samsung and Harman. And you've all heard of Harman. That's the two companies that have long served as a development partner to the BMW Group, and they'll continue to help automotive manufacturers develop vital innovations to serve the ever-changing needs of the rapidly evolving automotive market. So how does that work? Samsung and Harman showcased core automotive technologies, including ADAS. That's AI. That's semiconductors, memory, batteries, user interface, car audio, driver experience, and 5G. The 5G capable, TCU brings together some of the key technologies and links external networks to onboard electronic systems, which provides essentially real-time information to drivers in a range of road situations. Some of the key capabilities include, folks, downloading high-resolution HD maps in real time with Vehicle to Everything, V2X, to deliver risk assessment and blind spot information to the driver. And if you're watching the video, you'll see that there's a car approaching. Imagine this now, for those of you listening on radio and broadcast. Imagine you're driving up to a corner and there's a child running out, or there's a lady pushing a baby buggy. Your car would know that before you ever reach the corner. You couldn't possibly know this because you're not there yet. But the car knows this because it's connected electronically. I mean, it's amazing. And I know that some of you may be saying, well, that means we're being tracked by every movement. Well, yeah, which is we want to, for safety, you know, and if from a privacy standpoint, I'm sure there are things that you won't want to carry, you know, which would be the cell phone, because that has to be the connectivity. The good news is they're saving lives, and that's a proof is that. But at the Consumer Electronics Show, the Samsung Electronics unveiled what's called the Digital Cockpit 2020, which utilizes 5G to link features inside and outside the vehicle, which provided connected experiences for drivers and passengers alike. And just one more little phase of this that I'm so enamored with, on the back of the vehicle, micro LEDs on the external tail lamps are used to form a 53.7-inch tail display. 53 inches. With V to everything, that's V2X, vehicle to everything, communication technology, and the tail display, the vehicle can share images and messages and communicate the driver status to parties outside the vehicle when it's required. For example, the display might show messages such as roadworks ahead and pedestrians approaching. How cool is that? I know that's a lot of information. I know it's maybe more technical than you really at this time care about. So I'll take your car questions on a more simplistic term, like what viscosity oil to use, how often should you change the oil, what's the best tire to buy. Now that's a good question. Don't ask me that because I wish I knew. I don't know the best tire. I can tell you my experiences with my tires, which have the pros and I'm pro and con about that. They're Dunlops. I actually looked recently because I'm coming up to another set of tire needs at 65,000 miles. It'll be my third set. 20, 40, 60, yeah, 24,000. That's about it with that soft rubber. But that soft rubber really makes for a quiet ride, grippy on the road, but the traction is great, but the life of the tire is not really great. But that's just the tire that the factory chose to put on the car. The only thing that I did learn, it was a new word, polymide. And I looked it up because on the sidewall of the tire, it will tell you the construction of the tire. And I really didn't know this, or at least if I did, I'd forgotten that I knew it. Have you ever done that? And I learned that my tire had two cords of polymide. And I looked up the word polymide, which includes nylon. So because it has nylon construction, partly, it will flat spot. And so when I leave the house for my short drives, which is 85-90% of my driving, when I leave the house every morning, and it's not as bad. So some mornings I'm sure that there are some sweet spots where the tire is more susceptible to flat spotting within the tire itself, which to me shows some inaccuracy in manufacturing of the tire. So I'm not really happy with the Dunlops, but I'm happy with them after 6 or 8 miles, and they're so quiet that I'm on my second set, but I don't know about the third set. But here's the bottom line. The flat spot goes away after 5 or 6 miles, not 100 miles. And so that makes the car much more comfortable to drive, and I can put up with a little bit of because I know that's temporary. Now, I'd love to have my cake and eat it too, which is truly American, truly human, and that would be to have all of the things that I love about the tire and none of the things that I don't like about the tire. But the only thing that I don't like about the tire is a flat spotting. And I do believe that, and I will share this with you, for all of those of you in the automotive industry or in the tire world, a tire, let's say Tire Kingdom. Oh, wait, there's a company called Tire Kingdom. Just know this. Every tire has a born-on date on the outside. So when you buy a tire and you got a really good deal on a tire, you want to make sure that the tire's not old when you buy it. You say, well, I bought a new set of tires. Well, yeah, but if they were born on a date 2012, and this is 2020, they're out of warranty, they're out of date. No wonder you got a good deal. Now, I'm not saying the tire's bad, but I will say this. All of the tire manufacturers, no matter, you can't name a brand, all of the tire manufacturers, okay, name brands, you know, the Michelins and the Goodyears and the Coopers and I forget all the rest of them, but all of those manufacturers agree that a tire that is 10 years old should not be driven. What does that mean? Well, it means that the tires that I put on my classic Porsche in 2004, when I put new tires, and it's only 1,500 miles ago. Since 2004, I've only driven a car 1,500 miles because I don't drive it, but those tires are outdated. The irony of that is that those tires that I bought in 2004 for a 1980 Porsche means that car drove and drives better and safer in 2004 and today than it did when it was new. Why? Because when it was new, it had 1980 technology tires on it. And so every year, maybe I don't know what the cycle would be. I mean, you know, tire manufacturers come out with something new every year, like cars come out with something new every year. Of course, now cars are coming out with something new every year, like this V2X Samsung. You know, you're going to buy a car, and that car is going to be connected, and 5G network is going to allow our lives to be safer, and to, heaven forbid, that you go through an intersection and you have the green light. Hey folks, let me tell you something. The worst thing to do is to go through an intersection with no traffic light, and it has a stop sign, but the stop sign's for the other guy, not for you, and for you not to slow down and just take for granted that you got the right of way, because that's a good way to get into a wreck. Just remember, you have to be really, really careful. And the V to everything, the V, vehicle to everything, with 5G connectivity is going to help you there. I'm going to come back and take your calls at 888-227-2546. Don't go away. Folks, recently a 99 Chevrolet Blazer came into the shop. The owner was having problems with hesitation upon acceleration. He'd already changed out several parts: spark plugs, wires, ignition coil, mass airflow sensor, fuel filter, and the air filter element. He even changed the thermostat and coolant temperature sensor. Still had the same problem after putting a lot of money in this car, and he was frustrated. We dug a little deeper, cleaned the throttle body, and checked for trouble codes. No codes. So we recommended Berryman B12 Chem Tool. Carbon deposits and dirty fuel injector nozzles are a common problem with drivability in late model engines. We also recommended a higher quality gasoline. The customer noticed improvement on the first day, and only a few days and a few hundred miles later, the problem was completely gone. Berryman B12 Chem Tool features HEST, Berryman's exclusive high-energy solvent technology. The result is a more complete combination of available chemical technologies. Drive to BerrymanProducts.com for more information. That's BerrymanProducts.com.
You're listening to Bobby Likis Car Clinic.
More than 1 million wild animals are killed each year illegally. Poaching is a major threat to our country's wildlife. I'm Tom Barry. I'm an actor with a desire to preserve living space for wildlife. The Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust does just that. Works with private landowners to protect wildlife, to preserve natural habitats. To learn more or to work with the Humane Society Wildlife Land Trust, call 800-729-SAVE. That's 800-729-SAVE, or visit wildlifelandtrust.org. Thank you.
Did you know 26 million Americans have kidney disease and most don't know it?
The day I was diagnosed, I didn't know what to do. I called the National Kidney Foundation, and the young lady who answered stayed on the phone with me and walked me through step by step. She too was surviving kidney disease, and she showed me there could be life after kidney disease.
Visit the National Kidney Foundation at kidney.org. Now you know.
We're a land of cynics. We don't believe anything anymore. You know why? Because we've been told we've won $1 million, that it's new and improved, that it slices and dices, that our favorite singer is still alive, that we'll be prosecuted if we cut off the tags, and of course that everything is backed with a 100% money-back guarantee. So when we hear the words customer service, we don't believe it. Travelocity isn't surprised if you're a little skeptical when they say they have excellent customer service, and that there's actually a pleasant face behind this website, a living, breathing person with a supercharged computer full of answers. Someone who's willing to help when you get lost, and most of all, someone that will actually pick up the phone when you call with a question or a concern. Customer service is just another example of how Travelocity puts you in control of travel. Chances are you'll never have to use it, but it's good to know it'll be there if you need it. Travelocity.com. Go virtually anywhere.
And now back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and your host, Bobby Likis.
And welcome back to this segment of Bobby Likis Car Clinic. As I always do, at least I try, and I don't like to use the word try, but there are some shows that I fail to give you the average gas prices. But today's not going to be one of them because the average gas price nationally is $2.57. Now, here's the importance of that. A week ago, let's see, 8 out of 10 regions in the United States, gas prices were lower than they are today, a week ago. But if you go back a year and look at the gas prices a year ago, every region in the country, the gas price today is higher than it was at that time. And let's see, the highest price is $3, 36.5 cents, and that's on the Gulf Coast. So it just turns out that the Gulf Coast of Florida, or the Gulf Coast period, has the highest price gas increases over last year. But it changes every week, you know. It changes according to world politics, I think, obviously. And the price of crude, as I understand, the price of gasoline, 70% depends on the price of crude. Most of the cost of gasoline is transportation, transporting the gasoline from the refinery to your convenient corner gas station. Let's go to New York and take a call from Carol. Carol, welcome back to Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Glad to have you join us today.
Hi there. Guess what?
What?
Muted. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Oh, my daughter has a smartphone, and I'm looking at you right now as you're talking. So I'm not sure if it's in the same real time as I'm talking with you because it looks like you're talking. But I'm calling for a specific reason.
Okay.
I saw a movie yesterday that I went crazy, and I want to see it again. It's the one Ford versus Ferrari.
Oh, yeah.
It's about Le Mans.
Yeah, sure.
And it brought back memories of all the races I've ever gone to. SCCA races, of course, not NASCAR, because they just go around in an oval. But because we live, 2 hours, hour and a half from Watkins Glen, and I've been to several Formula One cars, group, races, Formula One, and Group 7 cars, and a whole bunch of other. I've been to different tracks, Lime Rock, Upper Marlboro in Maryland, and my goodness, it's just so exciting to see you because you're talking, but I don't know how much the delay is. Is there a delay when it's on the screen?
Yes, there is a delay, but your radio would probably have, a half a second delay or so. But the internet, it depends on your up speed and down speed. We use fiber. So our latency...
You're smiling now. You're smiling now, so it's a delay.
Okay. We use fiber in our facility, and then what we do, Carol, our conversation right now is live. It's delayed to you on your daughter's phone because our signal goes from here to Denver, to Cumulus, to Westwood 1. I'm sorry. Excuse me, the Westwood 1 crew. Sorry about that. Our signal goes from our studio here in Pensacola, Florida, to Denver, to the Westwood One studio in Denver, and then Denver puts that signal on the satellite, which could be like 125,000 miles up in the air in California, and then that satellite will beam it down to your local radio station there in New York. But we also, at the same time, simulcast on Google and YouTube, and there could be what do you think, 8-10 second delay, Fabio? We don't really know, do we? Or it depends on her.
We don't know exactly.
Yeah, because their connection. But the bottom line is, what's really cool about that is we actually, and I've actually taken calls, Carol, from Afghanistan. I was talking to one soldier one day, and he said, "I'm calling from Afghanistan." And the first thing in my mind, how did you connect up? You know, of course, obviously he was using a sat phone that he shouldn't have done, but that's the only reason I could think of. Anyway, about that time I heard this boom, and it was one of those surface missiles. And he says,
"Oh my God!"
True story. And he says, "I got to go," and he hung up. And it just so happens that later on that week, during the week, he calls me, and he gets through to our corporate office, and I get on the phone with him, and he says, "Well, sorry I had to hang up on you, man, but you know there's a lot of boom going on here," and so it was kind of scary. But getting back to Watch Bobby Live, we actually partnered with Google. And we have our own YouTube channel, and that's what Watch Bobby Live is. And of course, that's where a lot of the media is going. You know, social media is a huge marketing initiative. And to that end, and I can't wait, Carol, I can't wait until we actually are all able to experience 5G. Because if we had 5G right now, you and I, if we were in the same room, that's exactly like you and I are on the same conversation via telephone.
Everything in real time?
Everything in real time. But now even that, our conversation on the phone, we're using VoIP. So I don't have a landline coming here. I have cable. I'm sorry. I have a Cox cable, but I have a fiber link. So you and I are speaking via a fiber link that is the size of a you know the little thread or the cord that you use to maybe tie up a turkey. You know,
yes.
that size, and I don't know what size that is, but it's bigger than thread, but not much. That's the size of the exterior of the two tiny little fiber connectors that come out of this cable, and the cable that comes into the facility is the size of my finger, my little finger, in its huge black shell. And I'll tell you something else too. When they run the fiber into the facility, they coiled up about 10 feet of extra fiber. And on the pole outside, they coil up about 10 or 15 extra feet. And so that if and when a car crashes the post, and the fiber gets cut in half, they'll have enough left over to splice it, and they have to aim. If you cut a cable,
interesting.
It's so interesting. One more little note: if you were to take the fiber coming in, the size of your, what's inside is what does the work, but the protective shielding is the size of your little finger. So if you were to cut it in half, you have to use a tool and aim it. And you have to aim it within 0.5 accuracy of the photon fiber adjustment. Ours came out 0.1, so 0.5 is the the outside limit, and we're at 0.1. And that's how closely. But this gentleman that came inside to wire our facility and convert it to fiber actually set up his workshop in the hallway, where he terminated our fiber into our system, and it got as close as 0.1, which that means that maybe if you were going from, say, here to the moon, 0.1 would be a lot off. But if you're going from here to New York, 0.1 would probably put you maybe 10 miles out. I'm not sure what the mathematics are, but anyway, the movie you're talking about, Ford versus Ferrari, had a lot of facts. I did see the movie because I have
goosebumps just thinking about the sounds of the Ferrari and the, oh my God, and the way that guy drove. I was going crazy.
Well, for an American, and of course Ford did try to buy Ferrari, and they scoffed and what have you. And then, but what I took away from that movie, and Carroll Shelby, was the part that he played in Ford winning, first, second, third, and for 3 years in a row they won the race, and that's a huge.
It was 5 years. The credits at the end of the movie said, I think it encompassed. It ended with 68 or 69. going backwards. So like 69, 68, 67, 66, 65. It was almost like 5 years in a row.
Yeah. It was amazing to me. And by the way, Carol Shelby partnered with made the Cobra, and then a Cobra still costs a lot of money these days, are worth a lot of money. I built years ago a kit Cobra, and it was made by Stephen Arntz. And Stephen Arntz worked with Carol Shelby in California. And so what Carol Shelby did was he went to local hot rodders in California. One was a chassis builder, one was electronics, one was an engine tuner, and then he put this group together, and he says, we're going to build a wild car that's going to do something that nobody else has done. And of course he did that with Ford. And then of course you can imagine not just Ford, but any corporate, the layers of management. And I thought that the person that played the Ford executive did a heck of a job.
Yes, he did.
At being arrogant and not invented here. And okay. And so anyway, I think it was well done. And of course, the actors are some of my favorite. But anyway, I'm really surprised that you knew about, had been to Watkins Glen and those other racetracks.
Oh my God, I started going to Formula One races in 65, all the way up to 71.
That's amazing.
But they started getting more security around the track and more barriers. And there's one area where we used to watch it at the 90-degree turn, right before the start-finish line.
Wow!
They're coming, in a clockwise manner around the track. They were putting up. I'm short, and they were putting up barriers. You couldn't see the cars that well.
Right.
It was kind of maddening. And then they had camping on the infield and on the outfield. And if you weren't at a certain spot at a certain time of day, they wouldn't let you cross from the infield to the outfield unless you begged them, like, hey, my tent is on that side of the track. You got to let me in.
And Carol, to that end, years ago, when and I forget the name of the driver, but he was driving a Mercedes, and they crashed and they killed people. That's where the barriers came from, because of that crash. It goes way back to the Sterling Moss days.
They didn't start putting up barriers until
afterwards,
early 70s.
That was right. Now,
because I actually can I tell you this?
Yeah,
You're going to be jealous when I tell you this.
Go ahead.
Back when I had a 1964 MGB, my husband to be, he's on his third wife right now. My husband to be, you were able to go up to the Glen and drive around the track. There was no security.
Yeah.
I actually drove. I didn't do the driving. He didn't let me. It was my car, but he drove.
I got you.
And but I actually traveled the road racing course at the Glen, and there is an area there called the Sterling Straight after Sterling Moss.
Yes. Well, to that end, and a quick story, and we're running out of time, but I'm so glad you called. To that end, the gentleman, and I can see him now. He's passed 3 or 4 years ago. His name was James, but his last name eludes me. But I interviewed him twice, and he is the person who added and built and created the barriers. And when you see those orange barriers on the highways across America, he's the one that developed those. And not only did he do that, but I mean, and he's one of those guys that, and of course, he was 90 years old when I interviewed him, or at least I think he was. He looked like it. He's one of those guys that looked 90 when he was 50, and probably looked 90 when he was 90 as well. But he's sharp as a tack, and sorry we lost him, and I wish I could remember his name. But anyway, he did invent the barriers, and that all came from, and a lot of the safety, and this is something too, and we'll close with this, but Carol, you know this, a lot of the safety components in a car today come from racing, because when you're at the extreme, I mean, tire testing, oh my gosh, the tracks, the racetracks of the world have brought to the streets of the world safer tires, because manufacturers, when you make something, what do? You put it to the extreme, and if it blows up or blows out, then you say, well, we can make it tougher, we can make it better. And so the experimentation from racetracks has been nothing but boon to everyone. Anyway, thank you so much for sharing your some of your.
I just have to say a
experiences.
couple more things. All those familiar names when they were, I know their first names, but they were using last names like Bondurant and Hume, Denny
right.
Hume, Bob Bondurant,
Right,
Dan
right,
Gurney.
right.
Oh my God, it was just really.
And Canfield.
Yes, it was so exciting. Those are the good old days.
Yeah. Okay,
I am
my
going
dear.
to make it down there one of these days.
All right, you got to do that because I'd love to see you face to face. In the meantime, thanks for tuning in to Bobby Likis Car Clinic and watch Bobby live. I'm waving at the camera now, so adios.
Bye-bye.
Bobby Likis Car Clinic is brought to you in part by K-Seal. This is one of my favorite products. Why? It's a one-step pour-in solution designed to stop coolant leaks and help prevent future leaks. You can find K-Seal at fine part stores nationwide like O'Reilly Auto Parts. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it. What does that mean? If you have an automobile that has a head gasket problem or an engine block problem that is leaking coolant, the first, and it's not worth the money it would take to make it new or to fix it, try K-Seal. It is a one-step solution, and you'll thank me for it. Go to kseal.com. I see that Fred is on the phone. Fred, I can't take your call, but you'll have to call back next week. Please call earlier. He wants to talk about self-driving cars and a conversation, and I'm all over that. But I don't have time today to get into that. I will just tell you that every Saturday from 10 to noon Eastern Time, we're right here. So let's start a little earlier next week. Well, can't start any earlier at 10, but I'll be here. You join me earlier. I'm Bobby Likis. Like us? You'll love us.
This is Bobby Likis Car Clinic. Bobby Likis Car Clinic is a copyrighted presentation of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated and may not be reproduced or rebroadcast without the express written approval of Car Clinic Productions Incorporated.
Folks, we only partner with companies we believe in, like K-Seal, which is an excellent option for repairing a coolant leak, especially for older vehicles that may not be worth the cost to repair. But don't take our word for it. K-Seal was recently used to repair the block on a 1913 Type 22 Bugatti, the oldest running Bugatti in the U.S. with a value of approximately $2 million. You can find K-Seal at Menards in addition to fine part stores nationwide. Learn more at kseal.com. Don't just seal it, K-Seal it.
O'Reilly. Right now at O'Reilly Auto Parts, pick up 5 quarts of Mobil 1 full synthetic motor oil